So we're end of season here at the old mill. It was a pretty busy year. Like most market gardeners, we were just hustling and working throughout the year, and now it's the end of season. We're definitely going into winter mode. But there's a few things that I want to make sure that we do before we close the season. I want to make sure that all my field blocks are well covered so that all the beds, you know, they're not bare. So I want to have crop residues there. I want to have perhaps ramule wood chips or mulch on the beds. I want to tarp some of the beds that are empty for the winter. Just making sure that the soil is covered. Otherwise, it's prone to erosion. Otherwise, it's just not good for the soil. Just imagine the forest, all the leaves from the trees fall on the ground, and it protects the soil for the winter. That's what we want to mimic here in the garden. And it's also a time to just re-examine our workstation, the tool shed. You know, I want to reorganize the tool shed because it wasn't optimal this year. We're also, you know, cleaning all of our bins, making sure that they're really well cleaned for ready to go for next year. And you know, basically it's just about taking the time to organize it so that it's sweet, it's nice, and it's great that we have just a bit more time also. So you see, for example, this was how I organized my tool this summer. Everything's there, but it's just, that was my original design. I thought we would roll that out and it would be serviceable, but it's not. So this is going to be dismantled, and we're going to have a tool wall, and the tool wall will have, you know, racking for each of our tools. Make sure also that I only keep the tools that I use. The other ones, you know, I'm going to put on top of I'm going to just store the other ones. I'm just going to store them where, you know, I won't see them. So that's a project that I have now. You see, Victor is also making holes in all of our bins. For all the root crops that are stored all winter long, if you're using Rubbermaids, you want to make sure that you have enough air ventilation going in through those bins so that the roots won't won't rot, and mold won't get installed in the cold room. I'll show you the cold room. So it's pretty packed. So we harvested all that. We were waiting for the first frost because when there's a frost in the field, the vegetables, they really concentrate their sugars. So all our veggies become really super sweet. So we harvested everything. And so this is how we're organizing things. Remember, this is a farm-to-table restaurant. And so we have all our root stocks, and then we have everything that we wash. We put it in these clear plastic bins. And so the chef can come and take what he wants from the bin. And all the other ones, they're not washed. So we leave all the root crops unwashed, and they'll store better that way. They'll keep for 4 or 5 months. But we wash them every week for what we need. So that's our setup here. Get that organized. One thing also that I've learned through, you know, experience or, you know, problems is, you know, all these row covers and the insect nets, when we store them for the winter, ideally they're stored in Rubbermaid totes. And the reason is it's an expense to buy these totes, but otherwise the mice get in. Sometimes in the winter, sometime at one point in the winter, and they start making holes and nests. They nest in these row covers, and they make holes in them. So we want to make sure that everything is rounded up, placed in totes, and that's how we keep the material for, you know, much longer. Especially these insect nets, they're quite expensive. And, you know, obviously when there's holes in them, you know, they're not as effective. So insect nets definitely stored in totes, and also the row covers, you know, again, if you neglect doing it and you just kind of store them like that, because you're tired and you want to go, you know, not work anymore, you come back in the spring and, you know, there's all sorts of holes in them. So we're not doing that this year. We're doing it, you know, the full 9 yard. So, you know, I'm using the BCS year round because I'm going to put a snowblower on it. But when you're not using it year round and you're storing it for a few months, just the simple things to do is you want to switch the fuel line off So then, you know, your fuel is good. You want to fill it with fuel. So have it filled with fuel. That's better than having it empty. And also, just like the lever, just make sure that everything's in neutral, and then you're just storing them so that, you know, nothing's engaged and it's not creating pressure on the spring loads of the different systems. BCS has a great tutorial on how to store your BCS for the winter. I would recommend checking it. It's a big investment, and it's just worthwhile doing it well. Some people will go all the way to cleaning them. I don't do that. I like it dirty. Again, I use these machines heavily, so I'm not that nitpicky about that. Okay, now what we're doing is that we're installing the pressure washer on the BCS. It's a really, really cool add-on tool. It's an attachment that you can use instead of having another engine. A pressure washer usually comes with an engine that you need to maintain. It's expensive. So the pressure washer that goes on the BCS, I'll show you how that works. It's a hefty investment, but totally worth it. High quality pressure washer. Pressure washers, you can use them on so many circumstances. They're useful for so many things. And again, for me, like having the BCS as one engine for different apparels, different, you know, attachment, it kind of mimics what a tractor does, but it's definitely more, you know, better suited for small scale farming, for homesteading. Again, I think I've said this a million times, but it's an amazing machine, and it really is. Okay, so I'm going to fire it up, and then we're going to change the attachment. So if you come and look closer, you see that when you get the pressure washer, you need to have a converter. So this is the pressure washer is up to here, and then this is like a converter that takes the PTO and increases the shaft speed. So this is something that you need for the pressure washer to work. If you're interested in purchasing it, they'll tell you about it, but just so you know, you need that piece. So this is the winter greenhouse, and so we have all our greens that are really well established. That's always the game plan. You want to have all these green vegetables that are frost resistant, that are, you know, they can tolerate low light conditions, they can tolerate cold, but they need to be established, you know, for mid-November, so that, because there's no more light in mid-November, that's the limiting factor, not the cold. And so all is well planted. And now we're setting up these mini tunnels. These are thermal blankets that will roll over the crop. So we have a greenhouse inside the big greenhouse. And so we need to set that up. And then because it's getting cold now at night, it's below frost, we'll open and close these every day. So that wasn't in use this summer. Now it will be. So we're setting that up. And just so you know, I think we talked about this in another Digging Deeper episode, but this is really cool material. This is much better than a row cover. It's about 5 times more thermal, has a better thermal capacity, and it lets 100% of the light in. So this is a fabric that's really nice to cover your greens in the winter, and it's more expensive, but this will last me for, you know, 25 years. So I'm really pleased with that. And these are simple kind of roll-ups, the same thing that you have in outdoor pools. It's kind of the same thing, the same principle, but it's well done. So that's also something that we want to get well established. But, you know, if we take a look at all that's inside the greenhouse, it's really, really great. And this is all the fresh veggies that we have for the restaurant. And so we have all the root crops stored inside the fridge, inside the cold room. And we have these vegetables that are, you know, really nice. And we've had already a few frost, good frosts here, but as you see, everything looks great. And one thing that we do is when the temperatures start to be like really cold, like, you know, minus 10, minus 20 degrees Celsius, that's probably 10 degrees Fahrenheit, we'll heat inside those mini greenhouses. Will heat just above the frost line so that these won't freeze this winter, but they've already had a few frosts, so they're hardened off. So they can take the frost, but because I want super high quality for the restaurant, we're gonna heat them just above the frost line. But because we have a nursery inside, we have a greenhouse inside the greenhouse, it just won't take that much energy. So basically that's that. I'm also working on my crop planning. That's gonna take almost a week to do. Really make sure that I revisit what we did this year and that I'm really consciously thinking about what to grow, when to grow it, where it's gonna go in the garden. Yeah, all these succession plantings, what's growing someplace, by what is it gonna be replaced with, when do we need to start the second crop inside the nursery. All of this we do in a crop planning session. I'm gonna do this with the chef this year so that we're really aligned with the menu, with what we grow. And this will take about 3-4 days. And it's really exciting because we're also launching an app, Heirloom, which is a crop planning software platform. And so for the first time, I'm going to really fully using the Heirloom platform, which is coming out in January for the rest of the public. But you know, I've been working on this for almost 3 years. So pretty exciting stuff. But basically, that's pretty much what we have to do till Christmas. And then I'm going to take 4 or 5 weeks off, really get away from it all, take a good break. These will all be covered and they'll just stay. And because of the low light condition, you know, we harvest what's there and we'll have a second and a third cut, probably, you know, after January, when the light of February kicks in. You know, there's enough light for growth. And because we're minimally heating and because when it's sunny outside, you know, the greenhouse warms up, we'll have cuts in February, cuts in March, cuts in April. And in May, I'll, you know, clean the house and restart with, you know, all the summer crops that are coming inside the greenhouse. So basically, that's pretty much how we end the season. And it's exciting time because the rush of markets, the rush of, you know, CSA on other farms is behind us. Now we can just focus on cleaning everything, preparing, and, you know, taking a break, and then, you know, boom, we'll be back in production full on as of probably February in the nursery. I don't know if you know this, but I just launched a new book, a sequel to The Market Gardener, The Winter Market Gardener. I'm so excited about it. It's 7 years of research and development at FQT Farm. I co-wrote it with Catherine Sylvestre, which you should all know. She's an amazing grower. I'm really proud about this book, and it just came out, so you can check it out. You know, the FQT Farm, it's just like we have 6 greenhouse growing in the winter. It's pretty epic, and everything that we've learned there, you can apply it where you are, and I'm applying it here for the restaurant. Man, I think it's a revolution. It's somewhat nothing new under the sun, but you know, I think it's important that we think about food sovereignty and that we think about how we can grow our businesses by just kind of extending the season. Winter's a great time for that, and winter is also a great time to kind of downgrade the gears, and it's going to be Christmas here soon enough. I'm well. I hope you guys are well. I'll see you next time.